Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a really disturbing one. The Keddie murders.
Yeah, a truly horrific case. Unsolved quadruple homicide, 1981, remote Northern California. Still baffles people.
Right. And Keddie Resort itself. That sounds like it was this peaceful kind of rustic cabin community.
Mostly, yeah. People apparently didn't lock their doors much, despite, some petty stuff happening, that typical small town feel.
And the Sharp family moved there, cabin 28, looking for a fresh start.
Exactly. A mom, Sue, and her kids.
So what we want to do in this deep dive is unpack what happened, look at the investigation or lack thereof, and try to figure out why it's still unsolved after all this time.
It's a deep rabbit hole, that's for sure. So many strange turns.
Okay, let's start with the night itself.
Yeah.
Saturday, April 11th, 1981. Sheila Sharp, she's 14.
14, yeah. And she decides, luckily for her, to sleep over at a neighbor's cabin.
Which meant she wasn't in cabin 28. Left behind were her mother, Sue, her siblings, Tina, Rick, Greg, and a friend, Justin.
Right. And there was that detail about an unfamiliar green van seen parked outside around 9 p.m. A bit ominous.
And there was something else, too, wasn't there? About the ride home John Sharp and Dana Wingate got.
Oh, yeah. The woman who dropped them off. She said she felt this really eerie sensation, got out of there fast.
Creepy. Then later, much later, around 1:14 in the morning.
Neighbors reported hearing muffled screams. But it's isolated out there, The woods just kind of swallowed the sound.
Okay, so fast forward to the next morning, 8 a.m., Sheila comes back.
And walks into just unimaginable horror. Her mom, Sue, her brother, John, and his friend, Dana Wingate.
Murdered. Brutally. In the living room. Bound with, medical tape and electrical cords?
Yeah. And the scene, just covered in blood. Absolutely horrific.
But then there's the really strange part.
The younger boys, Rick, Greg, and their friend Justin, they were in a back bedroom.
And they were completely unharmed. Slept through it all.
Apparently so, which is just baffling given the violence. But the central mystery, the immediate one, was Tina.
12-year-old Tina Sharp. She wasn't there.
She was missing. And what's really maddening is that Justin Smart, one of the boys in the bedroom, apparently tried to tell officers Tina was gone.
But they overlooked it.
Initially, yes. Lost crucial hours. It should have been treated as an act of kidnapping right from the jump. That delay, it tells you a lot about how things started.
Looking at the victims they did find.
Yeah.
The violence was extreme, right?
Yeah.
Personal.
Oh, incredibly so. Sue was stabbed viciously, throat to spine, defensive wounds. John and Dana had severe blunt force trauma, probably a hammer.
John's throat was also slashed, Dana manually strangled, and multiple weapons.
Exactly. A bent steak knife, a claw hammer were found. Suggests maybe more than one attacker was involved.
So this brings us to the investigation itself.
Oh.
Or maybe the failures of the investigation.
Well, yeah, it was compromised almost immediately. You had crime scene contamination, evidence being mishandled.
Didn't some evidence get ruined by rain leaking into the sheriff's office?
That's the story, yeah. Rain damage. Plus, a bloody fingerprint found at the scene. Never properly analyzed. It's just, yeah.
And they relied on sketches based on a child witness under hypnosis?
They did. It really feels like basic police work, basic protocols were just ignored, almost setting the stage for it to go cold.
So who did they suspect initially?
The focus quickly landed on neighbors, Marty Smart, and his house guest, John Boubet.
And Boubet had a record. Supposedly mob ties.
Yeah, an ex-con with alleged connections to organized crime in Chicago. And Smart, the theory was he was angry at Sue Sharp.
Why? What was the connection?
People thought Sue was interfering in Smart's marriage, maybe advising his wife, possibly even an affair, though that's speculation. Motives seemed to point towards Marty's rage.
Okay, but here's where it gets even stranger, right? The potential confessions.
Oh, absolutely astonishing. There were two huge pieces of evidence that initial investigators just dismissed.
What were they?
First, a letter Marty Smart wrote to his wife. Apparently, it contained the line, "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives."
He wrote that, and it was just overlooked.
Reportedly overlooked, yes. And second, Smart apparently confessed something to a VA counselor.
What did he say?
The counselor reported Smart said, "I killed the woman and her daughter. She saw the whole thing. I couldn't have a witness," referring to Sue and Tina.
And that was just dismissed as hearsay.
Hearsay, or just not followed up on properly. It's kind of mind-boggling how these leads weren't aggressively pursued.
Then 3 years pass. Agonizing years for the family.
And then Tina's skull is found, miles away, like 60 miles from Keddie.
But the discovery itself had another twist, didn't it? The phone call.
Yeah, this is chilling. An anonymous caller contacted authorities, connecting the unidentified skull fragments to the Keddie case before it was publicly known they were Tina's.
Like a taunt.
Exactly, a taunt. And then that recorded phone call, it gets lost for over 30 years, just vanishes into an evidence box.
Unbelievable. So what brought it back to life?
Thankfully, years later, a new sheriff, Greg Hagwood, and a special investigator, Mike Gamberg, both actually had personal connections to the victims growing up. They reopened it with fresh eyes.
And they actually found things
Yeah.
after all that time.
They did. Real breakthroughs. In 2016, they recovered a blue-handled claw hammer from a local pond.
Did it match anything?
It matched the description of one Marty Summert reportedly owned and admitted to losing around the time of the murders.
Wow. And then?
Then, in 2018, the biggest news, DNA. They managed to recover a profile from that medical tape used on the victims.
Did you get a match?
A definitive match to a known living suspect.
So, they have the DNA match.
Yeah.
But someone alive.
Yeah.
Why hasn't there been an arrest?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The primary suspects, Smart and Bubid, they're both dead now.
But the DNA matched someone living.
Correct. It leads back to those old theories, maybe a cover-up. Was Bubid's background, his alleged mob ties, a factor? Was there local corruption protecting someone? Perhaps Smart wasn't the only one involved that night, and maybe someone else, someone connected, is being shielded.
So the case was deliberately sacrificed.
That's the suspicion that keeps resurfacing. That maybe protecting someone or some deeper secret was prioritized over solving the murders.
The impact on the surviving Sharp kids. Sheila, Rick, Greg. Unimaginable. Torn apart, put in foster care.
Lifelong trauma. Survivor's guilt for Sheila. And the community of Keddie, that sense of safety just shattered forever.
So the case is still open. Officially, closer than ever, they say, with the DNA. But still unsolved.
Still unsolved.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does it mean for justice when the truth seems so close, yet potentially actively withheld for decades? Maybe to hide something even darker.
Something for everyone to think about. It's a case that really sticks with you.
Absolutely. We definitely encourage you to keep looking into this one. There's so much more there.